Bobbie, will you file these for me, please?
Oh, sure, Dr. Quartermaine. You leaving?
Well, in a bit. Dr. Cunningham is with Mrs. Kakorian, and if there's any change, I'd like to be notified. I'm going to be across the street having dinner with Mr. Baldwin and Dr. Adamson, and then I can be reached at home.
Got it. That's practically the same message that Dr. Weber left. I'm just relieving up here, but I'll make sure the regular nurse gets it.
Good, thank you.
Uh-huh. There she is.
Well, hello.
Who's here? Hello, Monica.
Ah.
I persuaded him to come to dinner with us. Well, if I'm not intruding.
Intruding? Are you kidding? Dr. Weber felt that it was best she didn't have visitors.
I see. That's all you're going to tell me.
That's all there is to tell.
And typical of the answers I get around here. Look, I may as well tell you that I'm not pleased with the way Pat's progressing around here.
Well, I'm very sorry, Mr. Gregorian, because we have done everything medically and humanly possible for your wife.
I've had discussions with you about Pat's condition. I've talked with Dr. Hardy, with Dr. Weber, with Mr. Rooney, your administrator. And with all that talk, I still feel that you're keeping something from me.
We have kept nothing from you, Mr. Kakorian, and I don't know why you feel that way.
Well, I feel the secrecy started the night that Dr. Weber simply walked out of that operation and turned it over to you.
Excuse me, Mr. Kakorian. Dr. Weber did not simply walk out of an operating room. It is not unusual practice for an assistant to close after surgery is completed.
Well, according to some people in this hospital, it is. It's very unusual for Richard Weber not to complete his surgery.
Then I would suggest that you listen to the staff that is qualified to give you the real facts. Neither Dr. Hardy, Dr. Weber, or myself have kept anything from you or told you anything but the truth.
Monica, wait till you by the elevator, all right?
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry to keep you, but I have one more question.
Yes?
If Dr. Weber performed the surgery and you assisted, how come neither one of you was with my wife in recovery that night? Or even in the hospital where you could be reached in case
Your wife was in excellent hands with Dr. Cunningham.
Look, I wasn't questioning Dr. Cunningham's qualifications. I'm just saying that I know for a fact that Dr. Richard Weber never leaves the hospital until he's checked to make sure that his patient's out of danger.
Look, Mr. Gregorian, since you can't see your wife tonight, why don't you go home and get some rest? So when you do see your wife tomorrow, you won't be quite as exhausted and on edge as you are now.
All right.
Yes, this is Dr. Peter Taylor. It's imperative that I talk to Joe Kelly right away. I see. All right, thank you. Answering service says these are the Hardys.
Diana, please, come and sit down. Come on.
Audrey, it's Peter. Is Joe Kelly there? Yes, thank you. Joe?
Is anything wrong, Peter?
Yes. Diana and I just got home from shopping a couple of minutes ago, and I picked up the mail. Joe, Diana got a letter that didn't come through the post office. The address and the message are made up from words that have been cut out of newspapers and magazines.
What's it say, Peter?
Won't rest while baby is still in your care. Still watching you daily and waiting to make that all-important move. Woman who gave child in adoption had no right while I was not consulted. So I take matters into my own hands now.
Is that it?
Yeah, it was probably put into our mailbox sometime today.
There's no signature of any kind?
Yeah, and it's lettered the same way. Your natural enemy.
Oh, Diana, please don't. I thought those phone calls were bad enough. I'm just so frightened. I thought maybe this was all over with, but I wonder if it's ever going to be.
Joe, can you get over here?
I'm on my way.
Joe's on his way over, so you won't have to stay with her.
Oh, Peter, I hate to go with Diana this upset.
No, it's okay, Ray. You don't want to be late for Jeff, huh?
All right. Diana, don't let this get you down. Now you have the early shift tomorrow, so I'll see you in the morning, okay?
Honey, look, maybe you ought to take tomorrow off. You need the rest.
No, I won't get any rest staying around here. It's better if I go to the hospital, just keep my mind occupied.
Well, think about it anyway. You may change your mind tomorrow, huh?
No, really, work is the best thing. Believe me.
Okay, but I don't want you to get any more worked up. Let's just listen to what Kelly has to say about this when he gets here.
All right, I told you all along, didn't I, that I really thought that there was some sort of a connection between those phone calls and the adoption in Florida.
Yeah, looks that way now.
Well, I think that letter proves it. I'm going to take Heather's advice tomorrow. I'm going to take the adoption papers over to the hospital right after my shift is over with.
Okay, it's a good idea.
Right now, I'm going to take the papers and put them in my purse so I don't forget them. Tomorrow afternoon, they'll be nice and safe at the bank. I'll put the keys right here so I remember where they are tomorrow. Diana, I think that you should lie down for a while and get some rest. Oh, no, I want to hear what Joe has to say. Well, lie down until he gets here, then. I couldn't get any rest at all.
Honey, look, why don't you just stretch out in the bed while I take a shower? Then you'll feel better by the time Joe gets here. Please? Huh?
Okay, Robert.
Good.
Good night, Heather. Good night, Diana. Please try to relax.
Come on, you rest now. Maybe I'll pull on a couple of steaks later. How about that? Okay?
You know, Spence Andrews paid Bobbie a really lovely compliment when Audrey went in there this morning.
Well, how's he doing?
He's doing fine, just fine, most of which he attributes to Bobbie. He says she's a marvelous nurse, and if the whole staff was like that, we wouldn't even need medication.
Do I detect a certain amount of maternal pride and all that?
Oh, come on, Dan. I have a right to be proud a little bit anyway.
You certainly do.
Hello, Dan.
Oh, hello, Alan. Monica. Edward, how are you this morning?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Could I talk to you for a minute?
Sure.
Would you excuse me?
Sure thing. Just you know
What is it?
Well, it's Mr. Gregorian. We've had another one of our conversations about our purposely keeping things from him about his wife's first surgery.
Oh, I wish he'd get off that subject.
Well, then he might if the staff would stop feeding him doubts about how unusual it was for me to close after the surgery.
More of that, too, huh?
Oh, from what he says, he's hearing it all over the hospital.
I don't know what we can do about that till they get bored talking about it. You can't administrate human nature, Monica.
Well, it's just ridiculous, Dan.
I know. But from the viewpoint of the staff, it was, in fact, an unusual act for Rick.
But it in no way harmed the patient.
No, of course not. Oh, Larry Forsythe called again. He wants all the particulars of that surgery.
That was all Tracy's doing.
Tracy, are you sure?
Oh, yes, absolutely. She called a friend of hers in New York and made sure she told Larry Forsythe the whole story.
I'll have to have a talk with her when she gets back next week.
But, Dan, that harm has already been done. The problem right now is Mr. Kakorian and what we do with him.
Well, think it'd do any good if I talked to him again?
Well, it might. He also wants to know when neither Rick or I were in recovery with his wife.
How do I answer that?
Simply that I turned the patient over to Dr. Cunningham, who was on duty and happens to be a qualified surgeon.
I'll try to get him to relax. Maybe I can get him to go home. How is Mrs. Kakorian?
Well, the same. Extremely weak.
Well, I'm sure that both you and Rick will be relieved when she finally gets out of IC and is out of danger.
You have no idea how relief will be.
Well, I'll go talk to her husband now.
Thank you.
Good night, Monica.
Good night, Dan.
You all right?
Yeah.
All right, Jesse. Hope to see you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Come.
There's no hurry.
Oh, okay, fine, thanks. That's good. Oh, it's getting late. Bobbie, you must work a very long shift.
Well, actually, my shift was over a little while ago.
You didn't say just because of me, I hope.
Well, I wanted to have one more walk around the crutches before I left.
Oh, that's very sweet of you.
Crutches take a little getting used to, don't they?
You know, I've felt like a privileged patient ever since you came on my case.
You are. And for very good reason.
Oh, why?
Well, for one thing, you're very good friends with the Webbers. And you were very kind to Laura after her accident.
Oh, it wasn't anything special.
Yes, it was. If it weren't for you, nobody would have known that the accident wasn't Laura's fault.
Obviously, Rick and Leslie have a lot of influence around here.
Oh, I sure do. I'll tell you, I kind of resented that when I first started nursing classes here.
Why?
Oh, because I thought that everything always came so easily for them. And that if they'd had to fight and struggle for everything they've got, they probably never would have made it.
Changed your mind about them now, have you?
Oh, yeah. You know, they have been through so much just since I've known them. They have fought back against